Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys? This is not a great look. How are you doing tonight? Oh my God, should we talk about my life for just a second? So, I am trying to finish the Daughter of a Serial Killer book by Carrie Rollins because the live stream is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Depending on when I get my vlog up, you will have either seen this vlog or not if it goes up before the live stream. But I'm trying to finish it. And I am going to finish it tonight, but I was listening to it and I drove like a half an hour away and I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to like a half an hour of it and then I'm going to vlog. And I listened, so anyway, I got like a half an hour away and I pulled my camera out and it said I didn't have my memory card in it. So I had to drive all the way back home and get my memory card. And then of course the dogs went crazy because they were asleep. So I had to take the dogs out. And now I'm vlogging. And I'm gonna vlog for a while. I don't know how long this is gonna be tonight because I have got to finish this book for tomorrow. And I'm actually more interested in it now than I was when I started it in the last couple days. I've been talking about it and stuff like that. I did not love it. I did not love it at the beginning because so much of it was about her childhood, but now that it's like talking about the aftermath of him getting caught and things like that, it's actually pretty interesting. I just can't get out of my mind this comment that somebody left about not reading true crime novels written by family members of, what do you call it? The serial killers, because they don't want anybody in the family to benefit off of what they did to other people. Like, it just is, that comment made such like a profound impact on kind of how I look at these. Not to say that I won't ever read another one again, but like, I guess I just really hadn't thought of it that way, you know? And it's really a simple point of view, but it makes so much sense to me. And, I got a Diet Dr. Pepper earlier. So, I don't know how I feel about that, but I think it's a good topic for discussion tomorrow in the live stream. I'm actually excited about this live stream tomorrow more than I have been over the past couple live streams because I have so many opinions about this book and this story, and so yeah, I'm excited about it. The book club live streams are always really fun, and people are super active in there. I was actually watching this book club live stream today with the guy that I was talking about the other day, Spencer. Common Spence is his booktube channel. Like, he and these other two booktubers have like a live stream, like a book club that they do. But it was like a fantasy book. I didn't know this book that they were talking about. And but it was fun to watch anyway. They actually had quite a few people in there. They do it on, like, I don't think a lot of people come into our live streams because it's on now. But they were doing it on YouTube and they had like 131 people in there. And I think that's a, you know, solid amount of people for a book club live stream. But it's fun. I like doing it. And Mel's gonna guest tomorrow, so she's going to be guesting every live stream going forward, like she did the last, did she do the last two, I think? Or she did the last one, definitely. I can't remember if it was the last two or not. But anyway, she and I talked for a while today on the phone about the book, and then I told her I would call her tomorrow before the live stream when I finished the book so we could talk about it. It has been a long day, and I did take a nap tonight, and I took a wonderful nap tonight. So we got up bright and early this morning and took the dogs to the vet, and we had a little bit of a wait, but it wasn't too bad. And then all three dogs got their shots. PP is always real good about it. Tucker's always real good about it. Bradley, he is not so good about it. And of course, we're sitting there in a waiting area, you know, and there were other people in there with their dogs and stuff. And it's so funny because our dogs are so well behaved, like in public situations like that. And this person is like standing on the side of the street, just like talking. 'em. 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 But our dogs are like so good in like public situations like that. Like Alex had Boo and Tucker on his lap and I had PP on mine, and they just like sat there. But there was like this pit bull across from us, and just for the record, I have no issues with pit bulls. I think they're beautiful dogs, and I've had so many friends of mine that have pit bulls. They get a really bad rap from people that I know that have had them, and Tanya and things like that have told me, you know, and it's really more about how you train them. But there was this pit bull that was like across from us, and a beautiful pit bull, and he kept on coming over, and I don't know why, but he was like only sniffing Boo Radley. And Boo Radley, like, I mean, it could be a teacup poodle or a teacup Yorkie or something. And is there such a thing as a teacup poodle? It could be a teacup Yorkie that was 2 pounds, you know, and Boo Radley would be terrified of him. And what he does is he like crawls up you, like he crawls up you, because he's like he's like trying to get away, because he just doesn't, I don't think he understands, and they haven't been socialized a whole lot. PP was really socialized when he was younger, so he's great around other dogs. Tucker's pretty good. He just barks really loud at other dogs, but then he like runs around and plays with them. When Sarah brings her dogs over, or brings her dog Callie over, they're good with her, but Boo Radley still doesn't like her. I mean, he like kind of like hides on the couch with us. So Alex is sitting next to me, and I'm sitting in this chair, and this dog kept on coming over, and he was real sweet about it. And he just would come over and like sniff Boo Radley, and like you could see him like as he like came across like the little area where we were sitting, and like Boo Radley would like go like this, like up between Alex and I. He was like shaking like a leaf. It was so cute. But anyway, they did real well. Boo Radley screamed out when he got his shots. He hates them, and whatever that thing is they do in their mouth or whatever, and got checked out and all that kind of stuff. Got all their annual stuff. They did real well. So anyway, and then we came home, and Alex had to go pick up his medicine, his allergy medicine, and then I'm like trying to think about what we did after that. Oh, I took a shower because we were getting ready to go and meet up with the accountant at 1 o'clock. So, bag. While he was gone, I took a shower and got changed. Actually, did my hair and stuff today. I know it doesn't look like it because I have the hat on, but yeah. So anyway, I took a shower and got ready. Alex came home, and well, when we got home, he fed the dogs, and then he heated up some cold pizza. He had so much leftover pizza, and he kind of kept on like heating it up throughout the day. And so he heated up some cold pizza, and he was watching Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen while I was putting up the vlog from yesterday. And then we went and met with our accountant, got coffee on the way. And it's so funny because for so much of our relationship, Alex wouldn't drink coffee, and he would only drink black iced tea. And now he is drinking coffee, which just cracks me up. He got like a grande decaf I don't even know his drink because I've only ordered it for him like twice. Grande low fat latte or something, I don't know, with an extra shot, I think is what he got. But anyway, so we met with our accountant, we did our taxes. Oh my God, we were there for like 2.5 hours. But I feel really, really good that we got it done. And there's still some things that we have to do with it, but I feel really good that we got like the majority of it done before we went on vacation. So now I don't have to worry about that when I get back. All I have to do when I get back is like mail them and stuff like that. So I'm really happy about that. Somebody was asking from another country, I think, like what about like why everybody talking about taxes? So in the United States, you have to file income taxes, returns, and you have to pay taxes on like the income that you make in the previous year. So like in 2019, you do taxes for 2018. Oh, it's just a lot. So anyway, but that went really well. And yeah, and then after that, we went to Best Buy. Alex really wants some AirPods. And so, I like surprised him on the way home. And I was like, you want to go to Best Buy? And he was like, yeah, what do you want to go? He's like been mentioning that he's been thinking about getting them. And, so I said, well, why don't we go over to Best Buy? I said, do you want to go to Best Buy? He was like, yeah, sure. You wanted to look around? He's like, what do you need? And I said, I just kind of was thinking about maybe looking at, I wanted to get some new headphones for my computer because the ones I have, like the cord is ripped on it. And I said, I was like wanting to look at some headphones. And I said, and I thought while we were there, maybe I'd just pick you up some AirPods for our trip. And he was like, seriously? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I want you to be able to enjoy the trip. Because he was like, he wants them by the pool. And he was like, oh, he was like, that's so sweet. So we went to Best Buy. The headphones that I found that I like are Bose headphones, and they're $349. And I was like, no, I don't need those right now. I actually have some Philips headphones that we went to a private party for Armin van Buuren like 3 years ago, and the DJ Armin van Buuren, and he was like releasing these headphones that came out. And so they say Philips on one side, and they say they say Armin van Buuren plus Philips, and then on the other side they say Ultra 20 or whatever it was that year. I don't use those very often, but I mean I could if I wanted to. The other ones that I like are actually some that Jason helped Alex pick out a couple years ago, and they're like ones that like music, because Jason's a musician. They're like ones that like musicians use, and they're really, really nice. And the ear things are really soft. They're just like, I want some noise cancellation headphones, but I don't really want to pay $349. And quite frankly, I have been shopping a lot lately. My Nike shoes came today in the mail, and they're supposed to be gold, and they are like bright yellow. But I don't mind them. I like them. And I'm thinking about wearing them to Ultra. I just have to try them out with my outfits, and I have to see which ones are more comfortable too. I tried the New Balance shoes on. The New Balance shoes are so comfortable. But I haven't tried on the Nikes yet. But I did. So then, okay, so... Oh, but anyway, we went to Best Buy to get his AirPods, and they didn't have them there. They were out of them. And the only other store they have was like a half an hour away. And he just kind of looked at me. I was like, I was wanting to make some videos today. I didn't really want to drive all the way over on the other side of town. So we were like checking to see if we could get them, if we could order them, get them delivered in time. And they said that the earliest they could get them was Wednesday. And they were like confused about how to, I don't know. So I said, we'll just get online and we'll order them, and I will expedite them if you want to do that. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, no problem. Which we ended up having a gift card at home anyway. So that kind of paid for the expedited shipping. But anyway, so then we went home, and he was catching up on his TV shows. And so well, first I filmed a video for the Peter Monn channel, and I was going to film videos for all my other channels. And then I was like, you know what? Alex wants to sit down here and watch TV. I'm hungry. At that point, he had had so much pizza, but I wanted something to eat. So I was like, I'm just going to get this video up, and then I'll make videos tomorrow. I had kind of forgotten that I had the live stream tomorrow, because if I had known that if I had remembered that I had the live stream tomorrow, I don't know how I forgot, then I would have made videos for all my channels today. Oh, we made a review video too. Well, I'll explain that in a second. So anyway, but if I had known that, then I would have just made videos for all my channels today, and then I probably would have taken tomorrow off from making videos. But you know, like, I just love it so much that it really takes me no longer than like an hour or so to film all my videos. And so I'm always like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, why not, you know? Plus, I really wanted to make this video about Wendy Williams. Any chance that I get to share about addiction and recovery, I always do. And I like to, and I encourage others to do the same thing. So I wanted to talk about her living in a sober living house and all this stuff that's come out and all this kind of stuff. And I know that everybody wants to talk about the rumors of her marriage and things like that, but I just, like, you know what? Like, for me right now, I don't know. That's not where I'm at with it. You know, I encourage her to stay clean and sober. What was interesting to me, though, as I was making the video, was that she doesn't say anything about working a program. She doesn't say anything about like what she's doing for her sobriety other than just living in a sober living house, which anybody that knows living in just a sober living house, it's like that is not the end all of recovery. I mean, it's a sober environment, period. Hopefully, there's a lot of people that use sober living environments and end up getting kicked out. But as I was sitting there making the video and reading the articles, and I realized that I had read them before, but I was like, I had read them before I made the video, but I was like realizing that like she wasn't really talking about a lot about that. Like while I'm making videos, often like I'm in my head like for the Peter Monn channel especially, like I'm in my head thinking about, especially when I'm reading the articles or comments, I'm like thinking about like my response to it. And so when I got off from making the video, and I like was reading some more articles, there's all of these allegations coming out about her husband having this mistress and all this kind of stuff, and she's not really saying anything about other than she's sober and she started this foundation. And I'm like, this is where I really don't ever like to think about the worst in people, but I'm like, she wouldn't just come out with this storyline to like detract away from what's going on. I don't know. I just was like, I hope that's not the case. I wish Wendy Williams the best, and I can't imagine what she's going through. And, you know, on top of all that, I can't imagine like having people speculate about your marriage publicly. I mean, she is a public figure, but still, it's like, I don't know. The whole thing makes me so sad. You know, it's like the same thing with like, and I didn't make a video about the Khloe Kardashian and Jordan Woods thing. At that time, I didn't feel real moved to do it. I didn't make a video about that, did I? No, I don't think I did. I didn't feel real moved to do it. I probably, like, looking back, though, I mean, I have a pretty strong opinion about all of that, but, you know, it's interesting because what makes me really sad about it is that sometimes I think what gets lost in all of that is the children, you know, and that someday, like, I don't think we think about this. You know, it's like, someday, that child's going to grow up and look back on these stories, and these stories are going to be out there, you know? I mean, there's going to be documentation of all of this stuff out there, and, you know, Khloe Kardashian tweeting to Jordan Woods and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, I don't know. It makes me sad. I mean, the whole situation, all of that kind of stuff is just sad for all the people involved. No matter what the choices that they made were right or wrong, it's just like the whole situation from an outsider looking in is like, it's too much. And then the children who are mixed into all of that, it just makes me sad for the children, really. But, so anyway, but I have to say, I have like so many friends. I said it in the video, but I didn't say it like as strongly as I feel. No matter what Wendy Williams is doing for her sobriety, I have so many friends of mine that live in sober living houses, not treatment programs, okay? Not like, you know, and I said in the video Meadows, and that's in Arizona. I meant Promises, which is in California, but like Promises is like $100,000 a month. Not Promises, not Cirque Lodge, not, you know, all these different treatment programs. Eric Clapton used to own one in Antigua. You know, not all of these outrageously expensive treatment programs, but a sobriety house, which is basically a halfway house. I mean, it is a halfway house. They're interchangeable names typically. And so, and what a halfway house implies is that you have like half freedom. At least here, that's how they're understood. I don't know how in other places. Or you're halfway to like having full freedom or whatever. And there she said, you know, she has a 10 o'clock curfew and she has to be inside and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, as I'm like reading all this and looking at all of it and all this kind of stuff, I'm thinking to myself, Wendy Williams is living in a sober living house, okay? I mean, now just imagine this for a second. You know, for those of you that are watching my videos and you're living in your home and all this kind of stuff, okay, we're not celebrities. We're not, you know, on television. We are not high profile. Most of us probably don't have the money that Wendy Williams has. I wish I did, but you know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I mean, how many of us would actually like just check ourselves into a sober living house where you don't have any freedom. You can be strip searched. You're living probably in a room with other people, although maybe she's not. Maybe she does get some special privileges. Who knows? But, you know, and I even speculated that the reason why she doesn't have makeup on, because so many people are taking pictures of her leaving the sobriety house. She has a recovery coach, like a sobriety coach, that drives her to and from work, which that's legit too. I know a lot of people don't believe in sobriety coaches, but that kind of way of having like a sobriety coach that goes with you places, like, that's legit. Like, a lot of people do that. Like, not a lot of people that don't have a lot of money. And it was interesting because I had read somewhere on a comment on a video that I made or something that I said, maybe it was on my Wendy Williams video, and somebody said, a sobriety coach is basically a paid sponsor. That's correct, but it's also incorrect. Like, well, first of all, I would never have a sponsor that I paid, period, okay? There should never be any money that goes back and forth between a sponsor and a sponsee. I mean, if someday you're friendly with that person, I mean, have I bought my sponsor a meal? Sure. Has she bought me a meal? Sure. But you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be paying your sponsor for services, period. And number one. Number two, I can tell you that in any 12-step program, if a sponsor was getting paid, that would be highly looked down upon. Highly, 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 highly looked down upon. I don't even honestly know how that would be dealt with in a 12-step program, because there's no governing, you know, there's no government or hierarchy of 12-step programs, which is why they have traditions. And I'm sure that would follow under one of the traditions. I'm like in my head, like thinking about it right now, like which tradition. The traditions are kind of like the rules. And I'm thinking to myself, like, which tradition would that fall under? I mean, maybe each group being fully self-supporting. I don't know, like, but that would be frowned upon. But a sobriety coach is somebody that's, you know, works a 12-step program and knows what they're doing, or is, you know, a life coach and, you know, and trained, like, to work in recovery situations, or has personal experience, and you pay that person to, like, go, you know, around and all this kind of stuff. I actually was contacted, I'm like, can I say this? I think I actually said it in a video that I did one time. I mean, yeah, it was for a job. It wasn't for a sobriety thing, but I was actually contacted several years ago. So we have a good friend of ours that she's really good friends with Alex because he used to work with her. But she was the makeup and hair person for 2 tours with Britney Spears. The circus tour, and I can't remember what the other tour was, but anyway, and what's the one that has Womanizer? Oh, I know, the End of the World tour, because Nicki Minaj was with her, and we actually danced on stage with Britney Spears for that. It was really fun. So anyway, she was like, for the first tour, she was her makeup person. For the second tour, she was her hair person. And she's agreed to do a video with me, and she can talk about it and everything too, about working with Britney Spears. I mean, she was literally like her one-on-one makeup person and then her one-on-one hair person. And we got like a backstage tour, and, you know, I think I've talked about that on here before. But anyway, so because the camps of people hang out and they know each other that work within like Britney Spears people, stopped. Okay, so like Britney Spears people typically know like Lady Gaga's people, if that makes sense. Like some of the dancers go back and forth between camps, and they know each other because, you know, often like they'll be coming into one, you know, town or the other, or they all work for the same kind of, you know, organizations and stuff. So anyway, she reached out to me and she said, and this was when Demi Lovato had first gotten sober, and she was like, Demi Lovato is looking for a new sobriety coach, and like, she's like, you know, I think you would be a perfect fit for it. They need somebody that can, like, you know, be with her literally every second, and yada, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And she had all these things. And she's like, do you care if I give them your number? And I was like, no, not at all. So she did, and she talked to them, and they were, like, really, really interested in it, but they ended up going with somebody, I think, that was a lot younger, that could, like, you know, go and do public things with Demi Lovato and stuff like that. But yeah, I was like, I mean, Alex and I even talked about, like, if I got that job, like, would we be willing to, move to like Los Angeles. So like a sober coach is really just somebody, anybody that's sober could call themselves a sober coach if somebody wanted to pay them enough to, or pay them whatever, I guess. But it's really somebody that would hold them accountable, but it wouldn't be a sponsor. It wouldn't be somebody that you work steps with. It would just be somebody that would like take you to meetings, or be like, hey, you need to call your sponsor or whatever. So I'm impressed that Wendy Williams has this person, and I'm impressed that she's staying in a halfway house, like a sobriety house. Like, I don't know, like, I know people in their 20s that don't want to go live in halfway houses or sobriety houses. So in Indianapolis, we have one women's halfway house here, fully woman. And then we have, well, that's not true. We have two. And then we have two co-ed ones. And then tons of men's halfway houses, sobriety houses. And then, like, in the areas around Indianapolis, like, there's a couple that are for women. But then there are some that are, like, Christian sober living houses, and others that are, it's just, there's all different kinds. But I still think that's a lot that she's, like, living there, like, I'm really impressed with that. But anyway, we'll see. I also think that this organization that she started with her husband, which is supposed to be like the bridge between addicts first getting sober and having long-term sobriety by living in halfway houses, because there's not a lot of money for people. If you want to go to a halfway house and you don't have the money, okay, good luck. A lot of these places have charity money, but that will only last you like a week or two sometimes. There aren't, like, Salvation Army often has discounted rates or charity care and stuff like that, but there's just, most of these houses, there's a halfway house in Indianapolis that's highly reputable, and there's a waiting list to get in there. It's like a 4-week waiting list to even, like, get a bed there. They're full all the time, and then you're looking at paying something like, sometimes like $300-400 a week to live there, and you get all your meals and things like that. But at some of the places you get all your meals, other places you don't. Other places are literally like a house that you live in with, like, anywhere from, like, let's say 4 people to 20 people or something, and you have your own food and you bring in all your own supplies, but still you would have like a curfew and things like that. They're all different the way that they are. I'm just kind of thinking of examples that I know. So I don't know. I think it's, like, very interesting that she's doing that, and I love the idea of the foundation that she set up, which is a bridge between short-term and long-term sobriety, because it's something that we don't often talk about, in the treatment world that's needed, that this, like helping somebody into having some longevity of sobriety, because the longer you have, the better chance that you to stay sober, that's been proven in research studies that's why in a lot of treatment programs, like, you'll go in for inpatient for, like, well, back when I got sober, you would go into treatment for like a 30-day treatment program. And actually, somebody said in my vlog the other day, they, like, disagreed with me, but like they didn't disagree with me in a nasty way, but what they said was that they actually think a 60 or a 90-day treatment program is more beneficial. Okay, if we're gonna, like, dream, I absolutely agree with you, and I'll go one step further. I think we need 30 to 60 days of a rehab program, followed by 6 to 9 months of a residential program. If you want to talk about truly helping somebody be successful, 6 to 9 months of being in a residential program, and then followed up by a halfway house step-down kind of thing with possible day treatment or an outpatient program, followed up by aftercare. And that's why, like, treatment programs, like when I worked in treatment, we had, like, a detox level of care, inpatient level of care, and then we had day treatment, which they would come every day, but they would go home and sleep at night or go to a halfway house. And then, because the treatment program that I worked at, we had a halfway house that was built into that. That's the one that's co-ed here. And then, So day treatment, and then you would have outpatient, and then they had educational groups and aftercare, like educational programs and aftercare. And an educational program would be like if you got in trouble one time and were court ordered to like class, like, you know, addiction classes or whatever. And so the whole idea is the longer that you keep somebody, you know, in step-down programs, the better chance that they have of staying clean and sober. And that's been proven. Like, I mean, there's tons of research studies done. And the treatment program that I worked at is like one of the most respected treatment programs in the country. It's like approved by like every, like JCO and, you know, every organization that approves treatment programs. And I can remember when they would come in, because I would have to like sit with this guy, like while he like went over the charts, like, and they would like give examples of, you know, like they would like read charts and like group notes and things like that. And he would ask me questions, and I can remember like the guy that came from JCO, which is the Joint Commission, he would say, you guys have like one of the most solid treatment programs I've ever seen. Like he would always say that. And yeah. So, I mean, I'm a big believer in that. I thought it was interesting that she said that she went cold turkey and that she didn't go through treatment. But the thing is like for cocaine doesn't have like huge withdrawal symptoms. Like you withdraw for like 2 to 3 days, but it's actually cocaine is like one of the easiest things to withdraw from. And then after that, it's kind of like 10-day cycles, where you feel like extreme irritability and cravings, and then that lasts for like a month. But after that, if that's the only thing she was using, I didn't understand how she said in an article, like in the past she had a problem with cocaine. She wasn't addressing anything currently. So I was like, so in the past, why are you going now then? If you, in the past you had it, so do you still have a problem? Like I didn't understand really that, but whatever. I get asked this question a lot. People are asking. So anyway, I just want to say to the person out there that said that they would recommend a 60 to 90 day treatment program. Oh my God, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I wish insurance companies would pay 60 to 90 days, but they don't. Insurance companies only really want to pay for 2 to 3 days of like inpatient treatment, which is why we do like rapid detox things. It's why like they're using Suboxone and Vivitrol and things like that so much these days, because they are help with long-term maintenance for opioid addicts and things like that. I think they're using Vivitrol maybe for alcohol too. Back in the day, they used Antabuse, but so many alcoholics would drink through Antabuse. Antabuse is something that makes you like really, really sick if you drink on it. I have friends of mine that used to like be on Antabuse, and they would drink, like they've told stories in their leads and stuff, like where they would drink through the Antabuse to like make them violently ill, like almost to the point of going to the emergency room just so they could continue to drink. Because like once you like drink through it, then you're okay afterwards, but it's like you have all this like it makes you sick if you drink on Antabuse. I haven't heard anybody talk about being on Antabuse in a long time. It's interesting because, you know, I went through this period where, so when Suboxone came out, it's called buprenorphine. I was actually one of the first counselors to be trained to in Indiana to work with it, because our treatment program, the doctor that was there, he was like one of the only trained physicians in Indiana to work with Suboxone. Suboxone is a maintenance drug for opioid addicts, and at that time, it was really for people that had had several failed treatments that just could not stay sober, and you had to be like, you had to go in and see the doctor like twice a week. They would give you like 3 to 4 days of Suboxone. You had to do random drug screens that you had to call into the state, and they would tell you if you had a random drug screen or not. I mean, it was so like focused, and it was just like crazy, like how focused they were on maintaining who could and couldn't, like, you know, be on Suboxone and things like that. And then I went through this period where there were so many opioid addicts, heroin addicts, that were using Suboxone and manipulating it. So what they would do is like, and a lot still do this, they would like use heroin on the weekends, but then they would use Suboxone on like Monday, Tuesday, if they had to work through the week or whatever, just to like get them through, and they were buying it on the streets, or then now, I mean, like, I know so many doctors that I've heard of that have prescribed it, like just mass amounts of it, like a month's supply or something. And so at that time I was kind of like, if you go back and you watch some of my earlier videos where I've talked about it, I'm not a huge supporter of it. The other thing is that when I got sober, we didn't need maintenance drugs. Doctors weren't putting people on maintenance drugs, and I can even remember, kind of challenging, because the doctor that I worked under, I worked under he and his wife, but he was my doctor that I got sober under. And so I can remember saying to him, why all of a sudden are we, believing in these maintenance drugs? Well, they didn't exist when I got sober, first of all. And abuse might have, I don't know. But anyway, the way I feel about it now is, I know people that are on Suboxone, and in Europe, they're using Suboxone for long-term antidepressants and things like that. But now, I know people that have been on Suboxone for years and work a 12-step program. And there's a lot of discussion within 12-step programs about, is that really sober or not? But you know what? Kind of where I'm at with it is, if it's saving somebody's life, I really don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Because the majority of the people that are prescribed Suboxone and on it, or Subutex as well, just kind of the same thing, you wouldn't even know that they were on it, at all. If you interacted with them and they never told you, you wouldn't know. And so I'm kind of and that's what it does. It takes you down to a certain level, and then they bring you down to a certain level, and then you level off. And so you just stay at that, and that's why it's called a maintenance drug. But, with the amount of people that we have dying on a regular basis, put them on Suboxone, But I think we have to also continue to encourage, 12-step programs and counseling and sober environments as well. So, I don't know. This opioid epidemic that we have in our country right now, man, it's scary. I literally get emails or comments and DMs from people on a regular basis sharing with me stories about children of theirs that have died, or on my vlog a couple nights ago, I must have talked a lot about recovery. These potholes, you guys, I'm so tired of them, because I got a couple really, somebody shared that they had lost both of their sons, which is my friend Lori. If you're watching this vlog, my heart goes out to you. I just can't even imagine. And then somebody had talked about their neighbor, and I read these stories, and it's and I really appreciate people being, feel free enough to share your stories with me. I feel honored that you do that. And it's sad, and I think the really sad thing about it is, and if you're around addiction a lot, or if you, are in a 12-step program, or you work in any kind of hospital field or whatever, you'll know what I'm telling you is true, is that, if you have a 20-year-old that dies in a car accident, it's tragic, it's horrible, right? And, the funeral's packed, and everybody's, it's just this unbelievable thing, right? It's surreal. But if you have a 20-year-old that dies from a heroin overdose, there is a stigma that is attached to that. And that's not how it should be. There just isn't. And until we stop this idea that addicts are bad people, or addicts did something wrong, or addicts' parents did something wrong, or addicts didn't have the right support they were supposed to have, or whatever, that we're always looking for a reason why it happened, that there's something wrong, instead of just, we have to get past that, right? It's when I came out in 1990, and I came out into this culture of HIV and AIDS, which really it's changed so much. When I came out, I came out on the tail end in the Midwest, that from what I know from my friends that I met at that time, of all of these people that had recently passed away from full-blown AIDS. And I can remember going to bars and stuff like that, and you would see people, and they had the look of what we imagine from seeing in movies and things like that, or pictures of what an AIDS patient looks like. And I can remember that, and I can remember, because the gay community was one of the first communities that started talking about this, and at the time that I came out, the two groups that you talked about having AIDS were gay men and African American women. Those were the two largest groups that were HIV infected or had full-blown AIDS. And there was this horrible stigma, and I know that from far-right religious groups and things like that, of course, still some of them still believe that, but who I'm talking about with that one, but until people started loving one another within those communities and, destigmatizing HIV, that people aren't bad, that it could happen to somebody one time, there's so many stories of that, and it was all about, unprotected sex and intravenous drug use back in the day. It still is with intravenous drug use. Just a couple of years ago in Scott County in Indiana, Governor Pence, who's now Vice President Pence, he declared a state of emergency in Scott County, which is in southern Indiana. It's one of the smallest counties in Indiana. He declared a state of emergency because within 1 month, it was like the month of November or December or something, we had like 120 brand new cases of HIV in that county. And so he implemented needle exchange programs and a state of emergency because so many people were being infected with HIV because they were sharing needles. So, there's a stigma that goes along that drug addicts and people that have promiscuous sex or unprotected sex deserve this, right? And until we started destigmatizing that and really looking at people that had HIV as real human beings with real stories, and children and parents and loved ones and friends that cared about them, and jobs and interests, and we started really looking at that, and I think to some degree, the quilt was the beginning of that. When we started looking at, each panel of the quilt, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it's the AIDS quilt. We don't talk about that anymore, it's like, we've kind of forgotten about this whole generation that's been lost to AIDS, and it's really sad to me, it's like all of these men and women that we've lost to this horrific tragedy, which it scares me because I wonder sometimes, are we going to have a resurgence of this in my lifetime? It scares me, it's like we have all this discussion now about unprotected sex and PrEP and these kinds of things. And what's scary to me about that is, I remember when I came out, bars would have, and if you've ever been to a gay bar in the early 90s, late 80s, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They would have huge bowls on the bar of expensive condoms, really expensive condoms, good condoms, and lube, and they would have people from clinics that would test you for free right there. You would go out to a bar and they would test you for free if you wanted, and so, I can only speak for the gay community, but I know within the gay community what happened was we started stopping it within the community. People, it was never a question to have unprotected sex when I first came out. That would never have, I can't even imagine when I first came out hooking up with somebody and not using a condom. And I didn't do a whole lot of that anyway. And to be quite frank, it was because not that I didn't from time to time, because I've had my fair share of one night stands, but the truth is I was too drunk. And I just was way too drunk to be having a bunch of hookups. And I feel very, very blessed that my story isn't, that I'm sitting here saying that I am HIV positive or that I have full-blown AIDS. But if I did, I would not be ashamed to share that story. And I have many friends of mine that are open and share their stories to educate others, that it can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody. And it terrifies me, that it's going to happen to a whole nother generation of people, and we're going to go through all this again and have to, I don't know. It scares me. When I was getting my master's degree, I remember I took this class from this woman that was like one of the leading well, I took this class called Working with the HIV Infected Client, and it was like an elective that I took in the summer. And so like every week, like in the morning, we would do like, you know, lecture stuff, and then in the afternoon he would have a guest come in. Man, it was tough to sit in this class. Okay, so one week he had mothers whose kids had died from AIDS. One week he had hemophiliacs, which we don't talk about that anymore, but like Ryan White that died because he got blood that was infected with HIV. I don't think we talk about it anymore because I don't think it happens anymore, at least not here. And then we had, oh my God, the worst week ever was a panel of like 4 to 6 men, and they all had, like, their faces were covered with Kaposi sarcoma, which are like the cancer sores. That's what I'm talking about when you think about the patients back in the day, you know, and just breaks my heart. And they just were covered with these Kaposi sarcoma, and they had I can't remember what it's called, but it's at the very end, it happens when you lose your eyesight. And they were walking on canes, and they just were frail, and they didn't want to be here anymore. They had lost all their friends. Most of them had lost partners. Many of their families didn't accept them. And I can just remember, like, that might have been one of the most profound experiences of my entire life, sitting there, you know. But we had this doctor that came in, and she was from the Life Center here in Indianapolis, which is part of a major hospital organization, and it's one of the leading AIDS centers in the country. And I remember her name and everything, and she was so, like, just kind, but like educated like nobody's business. Like, she knew her shit. And I remember one of the things that she said, I don't know why this stuck out to me, but we were talking about a cure for AIDS. She said, there will never be a cure for AIDS completely. She said, well, we will come up with cures for pieces of HIV and AIDS. And what's interesting is now that we have the cocktail of drugs, which, you know, we have people that, it stopped again. You guys, I cannot believe that I have vlogged for over 40 minutes. I mean, it seems like I've vlogged for 15 minutes tonight. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but, so she said, you know, we will never have a cure for AIDS, but we'll have a cure for pieces of it. And then, you know, it's interesting, now we have like the cocktail of drugs, which is extremely expensive, but I mean, I know people that take it, and I have friends of mine that have been HIV positive for over 20 years and have not had one symptom, not one. You know, when I came out, it was a death sentence. I mean, that's how we saw it. We were terrified to have sex. I mean, absolutely terrified. In 1990, I was scared to have sex. But I remember her saying that we'll never have a cure completely for AIDS. And the reason why she said is because the strain constantly changes. So if you're HIV positive and then you have sex with somebody else and they're HIV positive, then the strain changes. Or if you're HIV positive and you infect somebody that is not, because of their DNA, it changes the strain in them, and then they have a different strain than you have, because it attacks the autoimmune system. So it's constantly changing, right? And your autoimmune system constantly changes, is from how I understand or remember her saying this. God, that's 20 years ago. I graduated with my master's degree 20 years ago, 1999. Is that 20 years? 99 to 09. Yep, 20 years ago. This May, I graduated with my master's degree. It's crazy. And so, you know, like, you think about that, and we really have made advances in it, but, oh, I know what I was like sitting here thinking to myself, how did I get started talking about all this? But what happened was, you know, we started really destigmatizing HIV and AIDS within the gay community. And the other thing I think that was a big part of this too was you started seeing people not being afraid of it anymore, and you started seeing people like I can remember, like, you know, somebody asking me out, and like my knowing that they were HIV positive and wanting to go on the date but being afraid of how that would work. Like, well, how would we make this work? You know, and being terrified, even being educated on knowing how you can contract HIV, still being scared, you know? And you know, now there are so many couples out there that one is HIV positive and the other one isn't, you know, or both are. And, you know, and they talk about it openly, or they have kids, you know. It's just like, there's so many stories out there humanizing HIV, you know. There's so many movies out there now that have been made about that time, you know, the late 70s to the late 80s and early 90s, of what that time period was like, you know, a whole generation lost, you know. And I think that's the true tragedy, is, you know, all of those people. Yeah, I don't think we remember it as much as we need to, you know, I think. But there was such a stigma attached to it, you know. And I remember a friend of mine who was not out about it, but I knew that he was HIV positive, and he wasn't open and out about it. This was probably in, I'm thinking, I still worked in treatment at the time. I cannot believe I have been gone for over 11 years. Like, that is so crazy to me. But, okay, so it was before that. So, I don't know, sometime between probably 2003 and 2006 or 7. And, I mean, you know, it was like, we're educated people at that age, right? That's not too long ago. And I remember him wanting to really, like he wanted to go to a support group. He was really struggling. And so there's a great organization in Indianapolis called the Damien Center. That's a HIV and AIDS organization, and like multi-service center, and they help people, like, you know, get all the services they need. They have caseworkers there, you know, everything that you could possibly need they have at that organization. It's highly, highly reputable. And in fact, when I worked at, when I was getting my master's degree, like for practicums, internships, it was like one of the #1, like Riley Hospital, which is Riley Children's Hospital, like everybody wanted an internship there because it's like one of the leading children's hospitals in the world. But the other one was everybody wanted to work at the Damien Center because it was supposedly such a great internship and practicum. And once you had like a practicum there, you could get a job anywhere, supposedly. But, so I remember he was like, he had services through the Damien Center, and they were recommending that he go to a support group because he was really struggling. And he also wanted to date, but he didn't want to, like, he was so afraid of, like, when he would meet somebody telling them that he was HIV positive. And so they had said, you know, well, some of these support groups are social, and so you might meet somebody through that or whatever. He would drive, like, hours away to go to a support group because he didn't want there to be any possibility that anyone near here would know that he had HIV. So he was not going to any kind of support group in Indianapolis because he didn't want anybody to know because of the stigma. And he had been HIV positive for many years, and his parents didn't know. And he was really close with them. I mean, he had been HIV positive for like I don't know, like 5-6 years, something like that, 8 years, I don't know, and they didn't know. Like, nobody in his family knew. But, you know, over time, with the stories, with people coming out and sharing their stories, with people coming out, now we see, you know, people in reality TV that say that they're HIV positive, you know, people on like Project Runway and RuPaul's Drag Race have come out and shared their stories, and, you know, people have written their books, and the Magic Johnson story, and we see somebody that lives long-term with HIV, and on and on and on. We have, you know, humanized that and destigmatized it to some degree. I think there's still stigma attached to it. You know, I think people are still fearful of it, because even though we understand it, like, we still get scared of things that we don't interact with on a daily basis. But addiction is very similar to that. You know, until we start destigmatizing it, we're not going to really be able to fully help people. Because we're wanting to continue to blame it on something, you know? Oh, this is what I was going to say. It was back in the day. God, how have I gone on and on and on about this and not even got to my point? Well, that's kind of Peter, isn't it? But, you know, back in the day, it was always... And this is what changed it the most within the gay community. It was always, well, how did they get it? Do you know how they get it? Do you know who they got it from? You know, is it this? Is it that? To, it doesn't matter how they got it. To, it's their story. And then it became this personal thing. And then it became, that really isn't part of the story. And that's not anybody's right to ask somebody that. Like, you don't ask somebody, well, how did you get it? You know? The reality is, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, you know? And so when we're talking about somebody that's an addict or somebody that's an alcoholic that's passed away from this, it's like we want to point the finger and blame it on something or try to understand what went wrong. And at some point, we have to stop blaming and finger pointing people and just start uplifting people with love and compassion and kindness. You know, it's like, you know, yesterday, I had a very full day yesterday, and there were pieces of it that I was just tired and I was overwhelmed. And it was interesting because I didn't get a lot of sleep yesterday, obviously. And I woke up today and I've just been going and going and going. So I went to go get a fountain pop with Tanya tonight. And Alex and I went and I got Subway, and then we did a review of these raspberry lemonade cookies from Subway, which, let me just tell you, if you heat them up, they are absolutely delicious. They're good on their own, but they're 100 times better, or 10 times maybe better, if you heat them up. They're so good. They are really, really good. And I do a lot of reviews, but I don't then come on here and say, oh my God, they're really good. But I will also tell you that milkshake from Burger King that I reviewed, it is really, really good too. That M&M's cookies shake, whatever, it's really good. Especially if you like cookies and cream. Like, it was really cookies and cream-ish with M&M's in it. So anyway, so we watched RuPaul's Drag Race tonight, and I got Subway and sat there, and then he got hungry, so he was like, well, I'm gonna run to Whole Foods. So he went to Whole Foods and got some stuff, and then he came back and he was gonna watch some TV. So I said, well, I'm gonna run out really quick, and I was gonna go to the post office. So I was like headed towards the post office. I literally had on like sweatshorts and a t-shirt, this t-shirt, but and it was warm today. It was like in the upper 50s, but it was like, I don't know, it was cold when I went back out. So like, I'm like so the post office is kind of like on the way to Tanya's. And so like, I'm on my way, and Tanya called me and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, going to the post office. She's like, I need to go to the post office. She's like, and I was like, okay, do you want me to come pick you up and we can get a fountain pop? So she was like, well, I want a coffee. So she made me drive her through Starbucks, get her a coffee. And then we went to the post office because she needed to get stamps. And I went to check my P.O. box, which, by the way, tonight I got on Amazon and I Google searched best car mount for Canon G7X Mach 2, which is what I have, and it came up with like 3 different ones, and so I ordered one tonight, and it should be delivered by Monday because I expedited the shipping, so it should be here by Monday, and we'll see how it works. It like has this suction cup, like the one that, is it Shelby, that I think Shelby sent me? I still feel bad about that, that Shelby sent me, but it has this thing that goes kind of out underneath it and then lifts up. So it'll like sit here, and then I can just put my camera on top of it. And I'm hoping that it works. I'm like praying that it works. So yeah. Oh, and I wanted some of those old school golf socks that have the like, the thing over the top of them. I'll have to show you. I bought some today. So anyway, I ordered some online, and they're not really kind of those, but they're Comfort Joy golf socks that like are supposed to like minimize dampness in your foot or something and like stop blisters, which I need for Ultra because I always get blisters. But then I was going to order these socks. They have the roll top. That's what it's called, roll top. These white ones. But they were like $18 or $20. They were expensive. and they couldn't get him there in time. So I was like, screw that. Well, I'm up at Subway, and I look up, and where this Babies R Us, or whatever it used to be, I don't know, one of those stores, or Office Supply, or something, it was some big store like that. I look up, and it's called PGA Golf, and it's golf, all kinds of golf supplies. So I go in there, they had the socks I was just gonna buy online for like $15 cheaper. So I bought 2 pair, there are 3 pairs in a pack, and I bought those. And then Tanya and I went, and then I came home, and Alex was sitting there watching TV, and then I took a nap, and then I came out to listen to my audiobook and vlog. So, yeah. There was something I was gonna say. Why was I getting into all of that? Oh, I know what I was gonna say. You know, yesterday I was like real overwhelmed, and you know, oh, I just knew that was gonna happen. It always happens right here. And can I tell you what is so weird? Not that it really matters, because it has nothing to do with that. But Herb Baumeister's house is right down that street. I always get like kind of spooked right here. So anyway, and I'll tell you why I get spooked, because for him to get to his house back in the day when he was murdering those men, he would have had to have come up this road from going downtown to the gay bars. He would have had to have come up this road and turned right there, and that would have been like the last intersection that they would have ever seen before they went onto his property. And I don't know why, but that kind of just like freaks me out. I think about that and how sad that is, you know? So anyway, you know, yesterday I was like overwhelmed. I was like dealing with a lot of sobriety stuff. People were calling me and whatever, and it felt great to be needed. And, you know, but I'm like talking to people, then running stuff by my sponsor. I've talked to my sponsor so much the last couple days, you know, running things by her. She and I are talking on the phone. We're laughing, doing stuff, whatever. I got all this stuff going on, right? And I just felt worn out and scattered a little bit, you know? And today we had so much stuff going on that we had to get done, and it was just like dogs, shots, check mark, insurance, check mark, and everything I just did so calmly. And I woke up, you know, and I did my meditations, and I did all of that, you know. I took like 10 minutes out. This is so funny, but my Joyce Myers, who I know, I'm not a huge lover of Joyce Myers. I know she doesn't like gay people and all that kind of stuff, but I like the message sometimes, so I try to read through the message, right? Oh my God, somebody asked me to do more skits on here because of my Coast to Coast AM skit. So my skit of Joyce Myers, if you've never seen a Joyce Myers, like, okay, put all of your assumptions aside, you know, of Joyce Myers aside. Let me tell you my thing with Joyce Myers. Anytime I tell somebody that I kind of like her meditations or her stories, people are like, you know, she doesn't like gay people. You know, she's super judgmental, right? I'm like, okay, yes, but I'm a person that has a higher power, and I consider myself a spiritual person. If I don't love somebody or try to be compassionate towards them or their message because they're judgmental, aren't I doing the same thing in return? Isn't it better to rise above it and be a better person? I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. You know, trust me, I'm tempted on a daily basis to lash out or, you know, not be a nice person. I'm tempted on a regular basis. I've learned to keep my mouth shut and rise above it and be like, you know what, this really isn't about me anyway. How can I be a person of service today? How can I be a better human being? How can I be compassionate? I ask myself these questions, right? So I am passing no judgment on old Joyce Myers, okay? But I will say this, if you've never seen one of her videos where she sits like this on the podium, she cracks me up. And she'll be like, because she used to smoke, I don't think she smokes anymore, but she'll say, when I was sitting in the kitchen this morning smoking a cigarette talking to Jesus over a cup of coffee, I said, Jesus, now, I got a question about these homosexuals, Jesus. Yeah, it was a good cigarette, and the cup of coffee was one of the best cup of coffees I've ever had. Now, I said, now, Jesus, you need to tell me about these homosexuals. Now, do you want me to love these homosexuals too? I mean, she kind of cracks me up, and it's just, that part of it is such buffoonery that I can't get behind it whatsoever. So I just kind of like, whatever, girl, I'll move on, you know? But some of the things that she says are helpful. And I have to say, her meditation book, once I get past the biblical verses and all that kind of stuff, is really helpful. And they're really good meditations, and I always walk away with something, you know, that. So anyway, I did my meditations, I did my prayers this morning. I just felt so centered, and it was kind of nice to spend the whole day with Alex. I mean, I am so ready to go on husband. I am so ready to go, because Alex and I are both so busy that, you know, we get to watch a TV show in the evening or go. That's why we go out to dinner a lot, is because that's the time that we get to spend together, you know, or, you know, have a little bit of married time folk in the evening or whatever, you know, because married time folk is important. I don't say enough about that on here, okay? But I do believe that married time folk is important in a relationship. I think it's important to have it, okay? But Alex and I are always so connected when we're on vacation, and you would think that, like, a long vacation like that, you would get sick of each other, but we don't. Like, I don't know. Like, I fall in love with my husband so much more on vacation. It's just so fun, you know, even just like sitting next to him on a plane and stuff like that. Although, I don't think that we're sitting right next to each other, because we both like aisle seats. And so he's sitting on this aisle, I'm sitting on this aisle, Jason's sitting next to me, and then Melissa, because she said she has to have the window seat, which is going to be so horrible for poor Jason, because we already got our seats and everything. Poor Jason, because, you know, Melissa and I are going to be talking the whole time. I'm so excited. We're going to have so much fun. So, yeah. So, anyway. But, you know, I woke up and I did my prayers and my meditations. And it's like I had all this stuff today. I could have been so easily overwhelmed. And I just went into it. And I said to myself, you know, I was like, today's going to be a good day. I'm going to have a great day today. You know, and that was funny, because that was what the meditation was about today in the Joyce Meyer's book. It was about that, you know, what was the quote at the bottom? It said, if you ask for everything, you may get part of that. But if you ask for nothing, you'll get all of that. Which I thought was a really great, you know, like, thing to think about. Like, it's okay to ask for things, you know? But then it went in and it was talking about, you know, asking your higher power for favor in life, you know, for favor in this world. And it was weird, because I did today, you know? I kind of was like, in my prayers and meditations, I kind of thought about that and thought, you know, like, let today be a good day. Let things go, you know, the way that I want them to be. And I can tell you, like, my taxes were not enjoyable, and I didn't love the result of them, right? But the way that I would have handled it 5 years ago versus the way that I handle it today is completely night and day, you know? And I just was like, okay, well, you know, at least we know what we need to do now, and that, you know, and I can do that because, you know, so, and the dog stuff, we just sat there. It was so calm. Alex and I were laughing on the way home, you know, and it was just such an easy, nice day. And I am like, you want to talk about, like, I mean, I love doing drama on my drama channel, but, like, that kind of, like, I don't know, but that frenzied mindset, it's been good for me. Like, you know, in the last 6 months where I took a couple days off at a time or whatever, or there was something I did, you know, that's been really good for me to not have, like, I don't feel like I have this cluttered frenzy mind where I'm constantly like, da, 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 you know, like, I am enjoying my life on a level that I didn't even know that was possible. And having peace of mind and serenity in my life is such a huge fundamental cornerstone for that. Because unless I have clarity, unless I have peace of mind, I'm going to let everything bother me. I'm going to let everything get to me. I'm going to just become consumed with thinking about things. And that is not healthy for this one. I don't like to do that. I like to focus on the things that are important to me. I like to focus on my husband and my marriage and spending time with him and the dogs and Tanya and making videos and interacting with you guys. I hate how this shirt, let me tell you one thing I hate, is that every single time I'm doing a vlog, whatever shirt I'm wearing is like riding up like that, and it just makes me look not pretty. So anyway, I mean, my best shot is not sitting in a car anyway, let's just say. Okay. But you know, like, that's the stuff that I want to focus on, is the stuff that I love and I enjoy doing, and the people that I enjoy being around, and, you know, so many of you out there that just lift my spirits on a daily basis, you know, saying things like, oh my God, you gotta watch this movie, or you gotta try this book, or, you know, like, Crystal said in the vlog, she said, I feel like I read books through you, and I kind of liked that. I was like, because I love talking about books, you know, and this gives me the ability to do that. I don't know, I just feel so blessed in my life today, and, you know, maybe tomorrow will be complete shit. But what I do know about that is if tomorrow is complete shit, no matter what is handed my way, at least I have, you know, a design for living with that today, and I know how to handle that. And in the past, I knew it as well, I just didn't put it into action. And there are days that are trying, trust me. There are days that are very, very difficult. And then there are days that aren't. And today was just one of those. I just was like, today is a really, really good day, you know? And I got to focus on those days. And I got to remember those days, because there's enough bad days out there that when they come, I just am like, today is a shit day and blah, 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 whatever. But even yesterday, as overwhelmed as I was at times, I literally would, like, get off the phone yesterday and somebody would text me and be like, can we talk? And I'm like, sure, sure, absolutely, we could talk, you know? And then they would, like, run something by me, and I'd be like, let me call my sponsor, and, you know, and then it'd be like, the next day I'd be like, or I get off the phone with, you know, my sponsor, and, you know, and I'd call them, and we'd talk for like a half an hour, and then I get off the phone. It was just like that, you know, one thing after another, and I enjoy that, I love it, right? But it was a lot, and even then, I just was kind of like, it stopped again, and that time it didn't beep, and I don't know where I stopped talking. So the last time that happened, I was like talking about, like, it happened a couple days ago, and I was talking about, like, my dad and my aunt, and what I realized was, like what my aunt's saying, I looked like my dad or something, that there was actually, like, probably a good 30 seconds of missing. So I'm just gonna say, I don't know where it stopped, but I was talking about, you know, the last big tragedy that I've had in my life was my uncle passing away. I mean, really big tragedy, you know? And even then, though I would say I was doing my gratitude list. Of course, I did prayers from time to time, but I wasn't, like, in the thick of this sober spiritual practice that I do now on a daily basis and at night. I think, like, how I would handle, I hope, stuff like that today would be completely different, you know? I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. As of today, going into Sunday, Saturday going into Sunday, in this moment, I feel clear. I feel like I have clarity. I feel like I have peace of mind. I feel balanced. I'm happy. I'm at peace. And I'm content. And I wish that for every single one of you out there. It's a really good feeling, you know? Because there's long periods of my life, even in the last couple of years, that I did not feel that. I felt frazzled and confused and irritated. And, you know, there's a saying that we say in, you know, in sobriety about being irritable, restless, and discontent. I think there was many periods in the last 5 to 10 years, last 3 years, last 2 years, there was many periods in my life that I was extremely irritable, restless, and discontent. I don't want that for my life today. You know, this is so much better. It really, really is. It's a true blessing. So anyway, I need to get this audiobook going, and I've gone a lot longer than I thought I was going to go. So, but I had such a great time talking tonight. I know I went into like 100 different directions, but thank you for listening. This was an enjoyable vlog, and even though the camera fell once, it didn't stop. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to get off here now, and if you're watching this on Sunday, which is when I'm posting it, I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Relax and enjoy your day, and have an amazing day unless you have other plans. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And pass that on to somebody else, because there's probably somebody else out there that needs to hear it too. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.